welcome back to another video. I am so sorry, it has been a while. I went on a short hiatus because I am so busy, I don't even know what's going on, but I don't want to go into excuses, so let's just get right into what this video is going to be about. I have played the Danganronpa V3 Chapter 1, and it took me a while to emotionally process what happened, and I'm sure as many of you can guess, because of my relationship with certain characters, I was absolutely destroyed by the events that took place. But I'm okay now, so we're gonna try and make the video. If I burst out in tears, I apologize, that's my bad. Continuing forth, there will be V3 spoilers, so if you have not played Chapter 1 or any of the events that happened before, do not continue watching. Thank you, and anyway, let's jump right into it. Also, I know I always say let's jump into it and then I say something else after, but if the recording sounds a little bit funny, it's because I am recording in a different place than I usually do. So if it's really terribly awful, please let me know, because I'm trying things out, and right now this is what's best for me. So anyway, continuing on, let's begin with my thoughts. We begin by having everyone full of hope and having an idea that they can escape by going to the manhole cover that Gonta found, which I am proud of my boy Gonta for finding that. I wish he spoke about it sooner, but you know what, it's all good. And I obviously knew, it's the very beginning of Chapter 1, that's obviously not going to be the exit, but I was wondering if perhaps it will be the exit, it's just we simply can't leave right now because something is blocking it or locking it off. Something along those lines. So when we went down the manhole cover and there was something that said exit, the first thing that popped into my mind was, someone's gonna die. So when going into the actual escape game that happens, which you do know that it happens if you actually go through the exit, I was very surprised because that was shown during the trailer, where it shows everyone trying to escape, and I didn't know where that would take place in the game, but here's my answer. And let me say, I actually laughed so much when I played it for the first time, because I actually really enjoyed the music, and even like the clunky animation actually really suited the vibes that it had in the manhole. So when everyone was trying to escape, and then excuse me if I laugh, people kept dying. Every time a character died, and they were just screaming and just gone. I don't know why, but I found it absolutely hilarious. And lucky for me, I saved right before doing the minigame, and I tried for about 30 minutes trying to complete it, and then I looked it up, and it is way too difficult to beat, so I'd just rather not do that. But at the time, I didn't know that. So I was just replaying it over and over and just listening to all of the characters scream and die, and I thought that was the funniest thing ever. The voice lines were really nice. Very good touch on the creator's part for such a small portion of the game. And then, after you essentially give up and almost starts blaming you, I actually very much enjoyed that scene, because it starts out with Kaede bringing everyone together, and it looks like there's hope and friendship, and you're like, wow, this game has a great start. And then everyone turns on you. Well, not quite everyone, but it feels like everyone turns on you, and you've ruined the atmosphere, you've ruined the friendship, and the unity is gone, and it really starts setting the tone for what the killing game is going to be feeling like. And I felt so bad for Kaede when she started crying, though. That really broke my heart. But I probably have said this before, but I am very, very surprised by Kaito's development, because on my very initial first reaction of seeing him, I did not think I would like him, but I actually really, really like his character. He's very supportive to Kaede, he tries to get people to rely on him, even if he's not the most reliable person. He really does try, and I really enjoyed seeing his character displayed so much, and displayed so well, so quickly. And when he was one of the few people to defend Kaede in multiple ways throughout the whole chapter, I just found it so sweet. And I really hope that he doesn't die, and if he does die, please let it not be by another one of my favorite characters, because I cannot handle the emotional trauma of losing two favorites in one trial again. The next thing that I would like to kind of talk about is the motives, which I found extremely interesting. Because, as everyone knows, or at least you should know, if you don't know, get out of here. But, sorry for my rude language, please don't leave me. But the first trial of Danganronpa 1, the motive was loved ones essentially being blackmail. And so that was it was a good motive, I will say, but it was very standard. And then in the second game, the first motive was essentially not even a motive. It was more just Nagito being a piece of trash. If I remember correctly, there might have been a motive. I just honestly can't remember. All I remember is just Nagito screwing everyone over. Which, in all honesty, how can you forget? It happens so often. But in this game, the first motive is the First Blood perk, which allows the first student who commits a murder to leave with no class trial, and they simply get to graduate and everyone else remains. Which is crazy to me, because if there were other Danganronpa characters in this group, a murder would have happened, and they would have left. That's just, with these specific characters, it's probably the only scenario where that motive could have taken place, and a class trial still ended up happening. Because if Byakuya was here, he would just shank someone. I'm just saying, does anyone doubt him? But seeing all the characters get this motive placed right in front of them, and they still do nothing, and they end up not doing anything due to the First Blood perk, is crazy to me. It really tells you a lot about the characters this time around. And I really hope, there's lots of hope, which is alliteration, but whatever. I genuinely wish that hope will be to all in this group. I want all of them to live, though that can't happen, and death already happened, but I desperately wish for some of them to make it to the end. I'm praying for you, Gonta! But anyway, moving on to the second motive. After nobody starts shanking anyone, they decide to put a time limit on, which makes a lot of sense. I can't remember specifically if there was a time limit placed on as any motives for the killing game, aside from like the Danganronpa 3 anime, but that wasn't really a killing game in its entirety with high school students and all of that. But I think this is the first genuine time limit. Everything else kind of winded down to a time at some points, like the despair disease. Eventually something was going to happen, but this was a strict, you got 2 days, kill someone or you're all dying, which makes me really sad, because those are the motives where people are forced to do things. Similarly to Gundam Tanaka from the second game, just motives where you have to kill in order to survive are really meaningful and really sad, because it just brings out all the despair in Monokuma. It just shows off what a trashy little mascot bear he is, enforcing these awful situations on these young students. But moving on from the motives, I would like to delve a little bit more into the relationship between Shuichi and Kaede, because that was a very prominent relationship. They just cultivated it so well, and there were so many scenes where Kaede was just emotionally unstable, and Shuichi was there, and then Shuichi would be unstable, and then Kaede was there. Even though it happened in such a short period of time, I feel like because of the way the game is set up, it was paced out fairly well. I will say you could tell that it was a little bit rushed, but honestly, it was a lot more relaxed than some things have been in the Danganronpa series. It didn't feel as if the creator was just dying to hurry up and make them go sleep together. And me personally, I spent all 4 free time events with Shuichi, so I just got much more attached than I probably should have been to their relationship. And I was like, what could go wrong? Expecting Shuichi to die in the back of my head, but silently holding it in denial, just wishing that it wouldn't happen. Because all of their scenes together, where he looked at her panties, and she was just reassuring him he didn't need to wear a hat, and it just gave me so many feelings. And then they start going into the more serious plot relationship between the two of them, where they decide to make a plan to weed out the mastermind by finding the door behind the bookcase, where everything starts to go wrong. I found it so upsetting, because if you remember, Rantaro said that he would take care of it and end the killing game and told no one to interfere. And you know what happened? Everyone here knows what happened. I can only imagine, I'm guessing, because this is Kodaka, if nothing had happened and Rantaro got to do what he wanted to do, the killing game probably would have ended and they all would have left. That's just my guess. Because Kodaka loves to screw with people and ruin hope and cultivate despair, and I don't know why he lives off my sadness. But as you already know if you have seen or played Chapter 1, moving on to the first victim, Rantaro Amami. And I was honestly in shock when finding his body. I might have a clip of my reaction, I'll have to look through my footage. But, oh my goodness, I did not expect that. I felt like there was no way. There was so much plot armor. He was the one who remembered the ultimate hunt that they talked about before gaining their first memory. He was the one who had all these plans, and he didn't even know what his ultimate was. I was like, okay, this character is safe for at least 3 chapters. No, he's the first victim, and and his body was just so sad to look at. Just the fetal position, lying in the blood, it crushed my heart. And I remember specifically saying that I wanted to violently strangle and murder the person who did it, and I didn't care who they were. And as you probably know, I later regretted saying that, but at the time I was so enraged I was almost ready to stop playing for a few days, but some friends urged me onward, and I did continue with the investigation. During the investigation, I honestly had no idea who did it, and during even the whole trial, I had zero clue who was the murderer. I had a couple guesses, but they really weren't definite, and I didn't have good enough evidence to pin them for the crime. When they were accusing Gonta, I refused to believe it was him. I just thought, I don't care what evidence you throw in my face, Gonta would never kill anyone. Or at least not yet. So, I refused to believe Gonta was the culprit. I know they wouldn't make Kokichi and Rantaro die in the same trial. Like, Kodaka is not that wild, okay? He's a wild boy, but he's not Tarzan. Okay, let's calm down. But I knew it was not Kokichi. I really doubted Kibo was killing that was not English. I really doubted that Kibo would kill anyone. I really doubted that Himiko or Kirumi or just all these characters, it didn't fit for them to have committed this murder, or just murder in general, at least for this point in time. And so I was so confused. I thought, who in the world could it be? And I just assumed, okay, it'll all be made clear in the class trial, we just gotta wait a little while. And when Kaide was pumping up Shuichi in the elevator, I was so ready to just find out who the killer was and be bamboozled and sad, but get over it and just have hope with all my friends. But that's not what happened. The twist was more than I expected. So, oh, goodness gracious. So let's go into the specifics of the trial. What I struggled with, what I enjoyed, what I did not enjoy of the new features. To begin with, I would like to say that I should probably tell you my difficulty level. That would be smart. I have logic on mean and action on, I can't remember what it's called. Whatever the medium mode is. Sorry, I can't even remember. Is it kind? I don't remember. But I have action, medium, and then I have logic on the hardest difficulty. In all honesty, the mysteries weren't difficult for me to solve up until a certain point. But for basically the whole trial, I had little to no struggle, and the only reasons I did struggle was because the time limit freaked me out and I didn't understand how to read. There was a point in the trial where I genuinely forgot to read, but again, we'll get onto that later. Starting with one of the new game modes, is Mass Panic Debate that we got to try out during the demo. I'm not sure how I feel about this feature. I don't dislike it. I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, it's just basically a non-stop debate with 3 people talking at once. Because I'm not sure if this can happen in the first trial, or is it because I'm on medium, or for whatever reason, but none of the people started over-talking, or none of the people started speaking loudly where I had to use the silencer, so I'm not sure if it's just because of the beginning or my difficulty level, but I was a little bit disappointed by how easy the trial was, and especially that minigame in general. I'd also like to really quickly go over the new change in the... I'm not certain if they changed the name of Rebuttal Showdown. I honestly can't remember, sorry, but I know that they did change the game feature where you had to, instead of slicing in a certain direction, you had to manually rotate your truth blade, which is interesting, but I suck at it. I don't know if it's because of the controller I'm using, or if it's just because I'm not used to it yet, but that minigame was much more difficult than it should have been for me, so... I'm hoping it was either a bug or I just get used to it, because I am not the best at games. I apologize. There's a reason I'm not on hard action mode. Sorry. And then, of course, there was the big one, which was lying. And I don't think I'll ever get used to lying, especially in a Danganronpa game, where the whole idea is get to the truth to get to the hope type of thing, and now you're just twisting your words. When the screen transitions to the kind of purple and there's eyes everywhere, it just feels so icky for lying. And they don't even clear up the lies, at least for the first trial they didn't, which really bugged me because they never talked about how she was lying. It doesn't affect the trial in any way, it's just me being who I am. I was like, what? You didn't confess to your sins? So... I wonder if they're gonna do that, or if it's just never gonna be revealed that someone's lying, which scares me. And they also discussed backroutes, which I have no idea what they are. I've never heard of them, but from what I can guess, a backroute is where you lie to a certain statement that you are not technically supposed to lie to, and characters end up believing that, and you go down a different path that is sort of like an alternate universe in a way. I'm not really sure how long backroutes can go on or how many backroutes there are, but I really am interested in finding some if I can. I didn't find any in the first class trial, but I wasn't honestly looking, so maybe I'll go through and play that and see if I can find it, or maybe I'll just look it up. Honestly, tell me in the comments below if it's worth it. I'd really be interested in seeing the backroutes, or maybe I should just wait until I finish the game. I don't really know what's going on with them, but I think the final game feature that I'd like to talk about before getting more into the class trial itself is scrum debates, which I did not expect to be like how they were. Honestly, where they started getting it all hyped for the scrum debate, and then everyone started floating and Monokuma turned the key, I was like, whoa, what's going on? And they did a very good job of building that up to get you excited for the scrum. And then they had everyone on opposite sides. When it came to matching up the truth bullets on either side, if you remember correctly, I talked about what I thought the quote-unquote scrum debates. I didn't know what they were called at the time, but I did talk about theories of what it might be, and in all honesty, I wasn't wrong. What it was matching up both sides, and then just technically getting rid of that specific point in the argument, and then everyone bounds together to fight against the left. And I don't mean in politics, all the characters standing on the left side of the screen, which I predicted, but I didn't exactly predict the specifics of it. It was nice. I think the transitions were a little bit odd between characters, but all in all, it was very pretty, very enjoyable to do, and I'm excited to see what other scrums will come up, or if they will be more difficult, because I don't know if it was just me, or if it's because it's the first class trial, but I felt like the scrum was kind of ridiculously easy. You just have to quickly match up words in your head, but we'll see if they get more complicated or difficult as it goes on. Now, getting into the specifics of what went down during the class trial. Honestly, I think the first half of the class trial was very well done and very unique compared to other class trials that have happened. Because typically in other Danganronpa class trials, they talk about, okay, let's assume that the culprit is just some random person, and let's talk about how they did what they did, and you get into the specifics of who could have done it a little bit later on. But in the first class trial in V3, at least, they were constantly switching between culprits. They said, it's you. Nope, okay, that it's you. And they just kept going. Like, they went from, I believe they went to Miyu, they went to Tsumugi, they went to Gonta. They went to, like, so many different people. And I found it really interesting because it's a lot more realistic, I feel like, instead of just going, oh, it's probably this person, and then pursuing them. You go over everyone. You take a step back, and you just check everyone overall, instead of just assuming it's one person, or two people. And then, when they started blaming Gonta, I knew it couldn't have been him, so when everything was tying in, I was like, where is the twist gonna be? And then, of course, they brought up how the moving bookshelf could have been in the way, so I thought, okay, then who could have done it? Because everyone has an alibi except for, I believe, Ryoma, Kibo, and Oma, which I really don't think Ryoma would kill someone, and I don't think they would take out Kokichi this early, and I really don't see Kibo as the type to kill anyone either. So I honestly thought, I was thinking about if it could be a suicide, but I really didn't believe that it was a suicide, and I honestly didn't think it was one. So I had zero idea who it could have been. And then they started blaming Shuichi, and let me tell you, I did not believe for a second Shuichi was the culprit. Every time they were accusing him when he was silent, no matter what happened, I believed that there was no possible way he could ever kill someone. So, I'm glad, because I was right, okay? So I was just like, no, it wasn't him, listen to me, fools. But then it kind of starts switching, and then Kaide lies, which, just the idea of completely switching the truth to be the opposite is just, So, they begin to lay off Shuichi, and then they say, okay, who the heck could have done it? And then Kaede says, I know who it is, I've known for a while now, and then it makes you pick someone. I was in complete panic mode. I didn't know if I was being stupid, or I missed something, or just something wasn't there, because I had no idea who the culprit is, and I didn't know who it was for a while. So I was kind of like, hey, Protag, I'm not on the same page as you right now, Kaede. Can you please inform me a little bit more before making this decision? So, of course, I had no idea who it could have been. I believe my first choice I did was Ryoma, because he didn't have an alibi. And then I picked, Tsumugi, and then Miyu, and then Korekyo. I went to almost every single character. I'm not even joking. I had zero idea who it could have been. I can't remember if I got a game over. I know I did get a game over at one point during the class trial, due to me being completely stupid and clicking the wrong button over and over. I don't think it was that point that I lost, though. But I selected, like, more than half of the students, just having no idea who it could have been. And then I had a friend with me who had already played the first trial, and he said, listen, there were only 2 people who knew about the camera and who set up the cameras. Well, Miyu knew about the camera, but she didn't set them up. So, when he said that, I said, no, it can't be Shuichi. And I kept saying, no, it can't be Shuichi. No, it can't be Shuichi. And after selecting more than half of the students, I thought, who the heck is it? I've picked basically everyone. And then he said, it had to be someone who set up the cameras. And then I thought, okay, well, who set up the cameras? Shuichi? No, it's not him. Miyu built the cameras. No, it's not her. I tried. And then I just kind of stopped on myself, and I don't know what went on in my brain, but I almost had a heart attack. I was like, no way. They wouldn't. They couldn't. And so, in my mind, I thought, okay, they're gonna be all like, guess what, you're actually the killer, and then prank you and show you how it couldn't have been you. So I selected me expecting that, and then it transitions to the scene with Kaide's mind. Now, at this point, and all the points past this point, I was not in quite the correct state of mind. So, as it was going on, I had no idea what was going on. When Shuichi was saying he needed to reveal the truth, and Kaide was saying she needed to give up for the sake of the truth, and Shuichi and all of that, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, this is a joke, right? And let me tell you, I was in so much denial. I'll tell you when I think I snapped out of the denial. But then, Shuichi said, Kaide did it. And that, my world just, shattered. During the minigames that happened after that point, all of the minigames that happened after that point, I couldn't even read. I was just completely immersed in the game. It was shocking how much it affected me, in all honesty, at least in my opinion. But just the fact that a Danganronpa game would have this so much build-up of this character, this protagonist, and they say, you're the protagonist now, and you have hope, and you can unite people, and you already have a potential love interest, and then you find out you killed someone. It is just insane. And Kodaka is a brilliant writer. I was physically shaking just by how shook I was by what was happening. And seeing Shuichi just so torn up about it too, it destroyed me. And at first I thought, no way it can be Kaide, still in denial, saying they're gonna show me how it couldn't have been Kaide. We'll just go along with it for now. But then they started talking about things like the shot put ball and her setting up the books in the library, and that's where I kind of started thinking, oh crap, this might be happening because this is making a lot of sense. And I was honestly in just kind of pure terror at what was happening. I didn't expect it at all. And the way everything started fitting into place, I didn't think that this could possibly ever happen from a Danganronpa game. The reason I knew that it was real, or at least kind of knew that it was real, was the moment Shuichi started crying, was the moment where I thought, oh my lord, Kaide killed someone, and Kaide killed Rantaro, and that was just, oh my goodness, I had a case of the despairs. I was so upset and emotionally destroyed. During the closing argument, where you have to put everything together, I was just out of it. And then they pull this freaking dick move and make you vote for her. Like, what? Why do you make... It makes it so much worse when you have to vote for the character. Because here I am, Class Trial, I think it was Class Trial 5. Class Trial 5 and Danganronpa 2, and I had to vote for Chiaki. And I was like, why would you make me do this? And I was so emotionally distraught. And now they're gonna make me do that for every character? Like, what? It's so good, though. It's such good writing. But we voted for Kaide, and I don't know what happens when you don't vote for her, but I just couldn't. How could you not? How could you not vote for her after all of that? It was just so sad, and it destroyed my heart. I was so heartbroken. And then they send Kaide off to be executed, and it honestly was just so, I wasn't even, normally I would say I was upset or mad or I wanted to cry, but I had a case of the despair. I understand despair, and I just felt so, it's a piece of fiction, but it's so well written, and the art is so good, and the music was amazing. It just gets you so immersed, and Kaide's execution was brutal. I was disgusted. It felt like Despair Girls, but all compacted into one scene. And then, of course, the cherry on top of the sundae, they killed my favorite Mono Kid. And It was just, I didn't even feel anything when he died. I was just so upset. And then seeing all of the characters just so distraught by her death, it breaks my heart that all these characters are so upset by her death, and then they're still gonna end up killing each other. That, it just, it gives me the worst feeling. The motives better be good for the rest of the trials. I don't know how the other class trials could ever live up to this one in terms of the twist, because I was in so much shock. I could not function for 4 days, and even more. Even now, thinking about it, I'm still getting shaken up. But after her death, Shuichi is just so upset, and Kaito was so encouraging. I know something bad is gonna happen to him, and it makes me upset because they never let the good people live. But right now, I really, really appreciate him. But the scene, I was in so much despair and so sad. And then when Shuichi goes to the ultimate pianist lab, and then he starts playing Clair de Lune, that's when I started crying. That's when I just couldn't hold back anymore. It was just so sad seeing their relationship going so well, and it gets you so attached to Kaede. She's this funny character, and she's optimistic, and she just wants everyone to get along. And then she tries her best to save everyone, but ends up killing one of their friends and then getting brutally murdered. It was just so awful in a good way. And just seeing the artwork of him standing there in the Ultimate Pianist Lab, it just, all of my feelings were shattered. And I actually did record a small clip of my initial reaction right after playing the class trial. So I will play that here. Excuse me if you can't really understand me. I was completely in tears trying to understand what just took place. So here's the clip. I'm recording this right after completing chapter 1. Sorry if I sound a little weird. I'm crying right now, but I just wanted you guys to hear my initial reaction to what happened directly after the chapter, because I know I'm not going to be able to make a video for a while, so when it does come out, my initial reaction is this. I just started crying. I almost don't want to play the game anymore. If there is no chapter review, for some reason, it's probably because I've kind of abandoned the game. This sounds ridiculous, but I feel like there's no point in playing anymore when she's gone. I don't know what it is, it affected me so much more than I thought it would. I guess because I didn't see it coming. As you can tell, I was not in the best state. It was just such a good story, and I'm so excited to see what the rest of the game has in store. I think that's all that I really want to go over for Chapter 1. The shookening happened. There was a huge twist. The music was all very good. The art was good, and the transitions and the minigames. Honestly, I'm very excited to continue playing this game. It's just, I would have probably continued directly after that trial had I not been so emotionally destroyed on the inside and on the outside. So, I really enjoyed it, and I played it for, I believe, 12 hours? 13 hours? I played a long time for just the first chapter, so I am excited to see how long I'm going to continue playing this game, and what other twists and surprises will be awaiting me. I'm not going to make any predictions on characters that will die right now, because I really don't want to get spoiled, and if you don't already know, keep the comments spoiler free, please. I do not want to get anything spoiled for me. Had I been spoiled about anything about this first class trial, it would have ruined the whole experience. It would not have been the same had I been spoiled, so please be careful of what you put in the comments. Anyway, that's a wrap for this time. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any recommendations, opinions, or anything else you'd like to say, please comment. I read all of the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, mata ne!